Who's who's that in the sky? Oh, it's Final Fantasy Stan. Well, everyone, it's that time of life again. The time when the trees are in bloom, the guinea rat makes a lot of noise in the back, and Final Fantasy Stan comes out of his fucking shell to replace his crippling depression with Final Fantasy anxiety. That's what I've been doing for the last couple days, letting it sink in. So this trailer came out, right? I know in the past these remake trailers have been like more question inducing, but this one actually like gave more answers. You just had to kind of cut between the lines, if you will, kind of like old Seven Moths did between Tifa's. But this one was actually way more informative, and obviously I'm not going to be doing a reaction because I've seen it already, and I don't fake that shit like some of the shields do. Sorry if I pulled the curtain back a little bit, but it be like that sometimes. So rather than that, I'm just gonna like actually just watch it and go through it and comb through it, because I've seen it a couple times now and I've noticed some things, and some people think I'm observant and everyone else doesn't watch this, but it doesn't matter, they're not watching. You know why? You wanna know why? Because it's just me and you. I'm talking to you right now. You out there. 3 people. This is for us. This is our journey. It's a journey that I hope ends before I'm dead. We're gonna cut to the chase today. I ain't fucking around. I ain't fucking around. And I said fuck. You see this? You see this face? This is a face that doesn't fuck around. This is the face that sits here on Saturday morning and just watches game trailers all day. It's a sad face. Okay, here we go. Here we go. We're going. So as loud as shit. Okay, trying to find a good place to pause it. There we go. There's a good place to pause it on Tifa dying. So about this, right? I really wanted to make a video way back when the first one came out about all the fucking multiverse shit that they're trying to probably play. I don't know yet. Jury's still out. This is obviously, this part in the trailer is obviously gotta be from Zack's quote-unquote timeline, I guess. I don't know. In all of these like scenes of them loading up all the characters, there's no Cloud, because Cloud would technically be with Zack at this point. So this is definitely a cloudless situation here, and I'm not talking about the weather baby. But what doesn't make any sense is why all these characters are together. I would be assuming that the big tornado they're talking about is the big fucking thing with the Dementors around Midgar, which was confusing as shit the first time I played it. But that's what I'm assuming it's talking about, because they mentioned Sector 0, which is like the new fangled way of talking about the big peeny dingly dang looking thing that's in the middle of the city. It kind of begs the question of how these guys are here, because it also says it's on the expressway. If Cloud is the catalyst for all this stuff, how does Cloud not be there if this is in Zack's timeline? Because not only was the last shot of Remake like Zack carrying Cloud's ass into the city, it's also not where this picks up, because there's a period of time when Cloud goes and changes clothes somewhere. I don't know where, but he changes clothes. And then there's also the whole thing with the fucking cross-dressing and the blowing up the stuff and the cross-dressing and then the blowing up more stuff and then going into the big town and then going into the sex dungeon. A lot of weird shit that happens in Midgar. And it stays in Midgar, baby. But like, none of that happens when this is happening. Like, Cloud's the catalyst for all this. Cloud's the one that brings all these different characters together. With the exception of Barrett and Tifa, like, there would be no reason for Red 13 and Aerith to be there. Because why would they? Because they hadn't had the fucking driving force, the role in the role-playing game, if you will, come to them yet. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is or why, like, Cloud wouldn't be there. One thing about this that doesn't make any sense is that it's almost like it's a convergence. The big tornado was all pulling people from all of these timelines. Later in the trailer, they kind of allude to this. But it's almost like the tornado scene with the Dementors was a catalyst for this. All these different multiverse timelines were pulled into one, because they kind of allude at the end of the new trailer, you know, who Like, Sephiroth's talking, you don't know if he's just fucking with Cloud's head or what. Who are these people to you? Like, you know I killed these people, so how are they here? The church is some kind of convergence of these timelines, whether or not they fleshed out the ideas completely, because of this kid. This kid in particular kind of struck me as odd, especially considering how long the shot hung on this kid. If you look at him compared to the two people next to him and the already established lore of what these people look like and dress like, this dude looks really fucking out of place. He looks like Luke Triton from goddamn Professor Layton, and he just plopped into the church. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to be like a school uniform or something. You don't see any kids, especially in the remake, dressed like this. They're all in this weird kind of mid to late 90s fucking layers of shit and accessories, and this motherfucker comes in like he's about to help the professor solve a goddamn mystery. These other two people aren't really like acting like they know him. They're just trying to kind of comfort him the best they can, and doesn't look to be doing a very good job of it. It just means that this guy's alone, because if you zoom back and look at everybody else, you know, they all look like normal Midgardian people. That's weird. At some point Kratos is going to walk out, but no one else in this scene looks like that, and that's the only one they really get a close-up shot of. I've said this from the beginning, I don't think that anything that they're showing isn't on purpose. Everything has some sort of ulterior motive, because that's just how they've done it thus far. Everything they've said, every line they've said, even all the way down to the first trailer, you need to accept this. This is how it's gonna be. This is what it's gonna be like. You don't know what's gonna fucking happen, but guess what? You're gonna buy this shit anyway, because we're fucking stands. But it's just very, very odd to me that they would make that specific choice if this church is not supposed to be some kind of convergence of all these different supposed string theory timelines. It also could prove to be a red herring, because what it doesn't explain is, once again, what happened between point A and point B of Zack and Cloud walking into Midgar. Where's Cloud? How did Aerith get from here to the fucking building? There's no smoke or fire or flames, and you could just chalk that up to where they hadn't thought of that yet, or they haven't rendered that part yet, shoehorned this in the best they could. There's always the technical aspects of it. I've heard people theorize that this is supposed to be heaven and there is no extra timeline, but I highly doubt that. This is the age of timelines, where use that as a storyline crutch. Let's see, we outdone the superhero movie so much. What's the best way to fix it? Oh, let's just bring all the old superheroes back and just blame it on the timeline. It's kind of lazy, but hopefully they won't fuck it up. Better not, because you're still gonna get my money anyway. But anywho, back to this part. I have a feeling this game is going to be more open world, in the same vein that 15 was open world, give or take, depending upon your viewpoint. Turn the volume down. Shut up. There's a bird! Now, Boogie Baby making an appearance fucking popped the shit out of me. Like, I was ready for it. I was so happy to see Bunga Bunga, and I'm also happy that they're at least going to get to Cosmo Canyon, so we get that far at least. But I don't understand how they're going to render Booga Baby's legs, because in the original game is just a ball. And I'll also say that I do have a slight worry, because I don't know if you're actually going to be able to pick your party members, or if it's going to be a situation where, like, okay, Cloud and Barrett, it's your turn to be together, and Tifa and Aerith, now we're going to follow you guys. Okay, now it's time for Cloud and Tifa. And I don't, or like, are you going to be able to pick? Probably not, because the game's too cinematic. Going back to this scene right here, this is obviously the Inn and Calm, which was like my favorite part of the original game, to be honest. I think this should have been like intergrade. This part should have been intergrade, not Yuffie. But I think they're really trying to capture the essence, because earlier in the trailer Tifa says something about how she doesn't remember Cloud being in Nibelheim, which makes sense, because in the you're playing the original game, you don't know that. You're not given every fucking detail. There's two instances of the literary device of the unreliable narrator. Cloud is an unreliable narrator in that he's telling the story that is completely fabricated just based on kernels of truth that he's inserted himself in. And Tifa is also an unreliable narrator, because she's not coming to the defense, nor is she trying to contest that anything Cloud is saying is true. And in the original game, they really did actually kind of subtly if you go back and play it. Like, the whole time Cloud's telling the story and they're standing in the inn, the little character model of Tifa, she's doing the fucking weird Katie Holmes playing with her hair. She's obviously nervous and obviously knows that none of this makes any sense to her, but she doesn't say anything because she doesn't want to, like, fuck with Cloud's head or destroy the morale of the group, fuck up a good story. That's all that really matters. But we don't need that information withheld from us in this version because most people playing this already know. So now they can just kind of lean into Tifa's apprehension and her questioning and her anxiety about this because, oh, that's because that's the name of her thing, is Anxious Heart. Look at what we just did. Give yourself a round of applause. Like, it's the same thing with them hiding Sephiroth and keeping Sephiroth in the back pocket until you get to the boat going across the ocean. You don't need that anymore because you already know Sephiroth's out there, so let's just throw him in there and just let him fuck with Cloud and the space-time continuum. Like, it is obviously a double entendre when Tifa says this line of how, like, he's been gone for 5 years. Why would you come back now? Like, what's the point now? Obviously not talking about Sephiroth or whatever the fuck Cloud's talking about. She's talking to Cloud. She's looking at Cloud. She's trying to figure this out. So it's a very, very good, subtle way of twisting the story on itself. And not only that, if you pay attention to what's going on over here, she's just listening because there's a good chance she already knows all this stuff already. She becomes like the new Tifa. She becomes an unreliable narrator in that she doesn't contest anything. She's just letting it all play out. What else happened? Oh, there was a big Rockman boss. Let's just fight another big nameless Rockman. He only got one arm. I was kind of happy they threw Elena in there, but I don't want Elena to be Yuffie 2.0. Does that make sense? You already have fucking 3 Yuffies in this game now. Chick from the beginning with the striped pantyhose for socks or whatever. The actual Yuffie, which came second. And then you have Elena. I don't know. I always kind of thought in the original game that she was she wasn't as showboaty. She was just kind of, you know, reserved, and she was all business and she just wanted to do a good job. But I don't ever think I ever got any like hints of arrogance from her. But this version of Elena is very arrogant. Right off the bat, she's already fucking hitting the Ginyu Force poses and shit. Like, she's over here fucking hitting her spots, and then like here comes Rude just being, you know, the actual everyman of the only non-weirdo of the Turks. Even though he does have a lot of piercings, and I've heard tell that like poisons your blood and takes you further from Jesus. I was looking at this, I'm trying to figure out where this part is. I want to say it's actually gonna be on the western continent, I think, because there's a lot more streams and rivers on the western continent. But then again, they've expanded this and you might not know. And also, like, the world building is probably going to be really fucking amazing. If you look over to screen left, like, all the fucking shit to bring power, they're gonna like really drive home that how they have to move this power from one place to the other with all these fucking reactors, which they really didn't do in the original game. Like, oh, well, we need power, we'll just fucking build a reactor. Why not? Just build a fucking reactor. But now it's actually going to be like in real life, where there's power lines everywhere and big old pipes and tubes and pipelines and protesters, everyone with their little matching outfits holding up a sign. Oh wait, you play as those guys. Never mind, I'm sorry, I take that back. They're not all wearing the same outfit. Can you imagine Barrett in Tifa's outfit? You just did. This is what everyone was really waiting for. The unveil of Junin, which looks fucking huge. Like, I kind of have like my reservations about what's gonna happen in Junin, because Junin is like really fucking big. There's a lot that you do there in the original game. There's a lot of fucking maps you run through. I don't know how much of the game is actually going to take place here, because I know they're probably taking out Fort Condor and all that other stuff, because you don't have to do that anymore. And it's also unnecessary and also wasn't really fun in the original game. Nobody wants to play Final Fantasy Plants vs. Zombies with your little catapult things that don't work. I kind of like Junin more than I like Midgar anyway, because you could always go back to Junin and explore it and everything, whereas once you left Midgar, you really didn't have a whole lot of opportunity to go back until it was about to be fucking endgame and destroyed and everything. And also there's a big ship, which we need that ship. We gotta get that ship right there. It's right there. We're also gonna have playable Yuffie, playable Red 13. Thankfully, we're gonna do the common sense thing of getting Yuffie before you go to Junin, which is what everyone should fucking do when you're playing the OG game. And then we got Old 7 Moss. Old 7 Moss makes his return. I don't know where this part is though. Based on what fleeting glimpses you see of this scene, I'm assuming this is on the boat going from Junin Harbor to Costa del Sol, which I want to see Costa del Sol, goddammit. So this is technically Genova Earth, I guess. I don't read in too much to the environment change because the fucking Dreamweaver Genova in the first remake like swapped places with you and made you go to a weird dream-like thing. That's Cloud. All right, here we go. This is the thing that everyone's trying to talk about. This plays out exactly as the original game. They actually showed blood too, which they didn't do that in the first one. Oh, Tifa's got a lot of bracelets on. She's got scars. She got more accessories than Johnny Depp on trial day. But this part of the trailer, Sephiroth says, "You know I killed her. So who is she?" I know a lot of people are kind of referencing this to obviously what's happening in front of them, but like I said, I don't think they do anything without an ulterior motive. And in the previous trailers that came out, they had a lot of this where they had the voiceover. They say a certain thing and they show you one thing, wanting you to conflate those two things together. But when you actually see the final product, it was about something completely different. Completely, or a word like that. And that might be the case here because there is an interpretation that you can take from this to say that he could be talking about Cloud's mom, because that was a big part of the original first game. Sephiroth really dug into Cloud about how he killed his fucking mama and really wanted him to remind him that he killed his mama. And there's a lot of mama killing in Final Fantasy VII lore, so it's really kind of a theme. But that's the only question I think this one really opens up, is if that is the case, and it still doesn't make any sense as far as not the timeline, but the chronology of events. If she is dead, then how did she come back? So that leads me to believe that Sephiroth isn't actually talking about Tifa. There was no dimensional time rift in between that 5 years of her getting cut up and then Cloud saving her, which, as we saw in the original game, that's what happened. Or there is a possibility here that he could just be talking about Aerith. Every time we've heard Sephiroth in the remake talking like this, he's like, it's talking directly to Cloud and his subconscious or his whatever, and having these weird hallucinogenic visions of him. So this could be from another scene that we're just superimposing over Tifa, but in actuality, he's talking about Aerith, which brings to the table the possibility of there being two Aeriths. And I know that seems crazy and far-fetched, but it would go a long way to explain why the Aerith that's in the game knows everything that's going on. So either Cloud has had a vision of seeing Aerith dying and it already happening, and Cloud actually thinking this has happened already, and then there's still an Aerith there talking to him. Who is she? And not to mention, it also plays into mommy killing, because Aerith is supposed to be some kind of esoteric representation of Mother Earth. We just took that Earth and we just dug deep. So I think this little nugget is more of a red herring than anything else, and I don't think that Sephiroth might necessarily be talking about Tifa just because you see it. Why you take things so literally? Stop it. And then we get the coolest part of it all, the most mind-bending part of everything about this game that's coming out. It's on 2 motherfucking discs. I don't know why that's the selling point. This is on 2 discs, baby. It's a PS5 game, and we can't fit it on just one. But what I hope that doesn't do is like make this one of those marathon games that takes 18 years to beat, or even other games like God of War and like Cyberpunk that just take you forever to beat. They're kind of big, but in their vastness, they actually disguise their limitations in that you can't really you can only do so many things. The world is big, but it's kind of the same thing over and over and over again. And I hope that's not the case with this, because it is so story driven. I don't want them to, like, you get to disc 2 and then you cut off and then you can't go back. If it is truly open world, oh, you can't go back to Junin now, you're on disc 2. And I guess you can make it make sense, because you really don't go back to Junin anyway in the original story until after you go all the way back up into the temple and the Forgotten City, and someone bites the bullet. But who knows? We're gonna have to find out later. We're gonna find out later. Give or take 8 months. It's a baby. We're in the first trimester right now. Right now, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the size of a small acorn. Actually, it looks way bigger than that. They look like they've been working on this for a minute. So I am happy about that. At least they're committed. They better be. The timing of this was weird too, considering they released this 2 weeks out from the next numbered game coming out. So there's that. I thought that we weren't going to see anything until after that came out, at least. But I'm not going to complain. I'm playing both. I'm Final Fantasy stan. They're going to take my money, baby. But whatever happens, we're going to continue on this journey together in hopes that we don't die in World War III before they make the third one. There's always a chance. And there's guys saying there's aliens out there now. I mean, there's always been guys saying there's aliens, but he has a badge now. And we are supposed to trust all of those people. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Genova's an alien. She came in on a planet. She rode a fucking planet. What do you do with your life? Your fucking Honda Civic ass. So until next time, I might make a video again soon. I don't know. We'll see. But you can also watch me in the Skytown on Twitch or on Facebook. You can subscribe so you'll get a notification every 7 months when I make a video. And then you can go buy some shirts. Go to the thing. There's a link somewhere. I never know where it is anymore. You can buy a shirt. You can buy this shirt so you can be a fake stan, because you're not the OG, baby. So until next time, I'm gonna go faith with Alabama Heat, and we're gonna walk that line of not putting on enough deodorant and then not putting it in your booty crack because it's wet too, baby. I might have unveiled too much information.